Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Seller Strategies. We're your hosts, Ervin, and my co-host, Maria from Fetcher.com. And we're here to talk about specific seller strategies in 5 minutes or less. Today's topic is a very exciting one, and it's probably one of the biggest holidays on Amazon, aside from Thanksgiving, that is, which is Prime Day. Prime Day, Maria. Have you sold on Prime Day before?
Not yet. Last year when it came around, I was too late with the application and I wasn't feeling up to par. But this year I will, so I'm excited.
All right. Well, you are in for a big surprise, my friend, because typically on Prime Days, it's pretty much normal to sell 2, 3, and even 4 times your current amount of sales during Prime Day itself.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, there's still a few months left before Prime Day, and this is a really good time for us to prepare listings before Prime Day, because during Prime Day, we want to make sure that our listings are primed, optimized, and selling well. That way, when it comes to Prime Day itself, we can just rake in those dollars while we sit back and look at our Amazon seller app, refresh it every 2 minutes, and see 10 sales every now and then come up. Wouldn't that be great?
Yep.
All right, so the number one thing that I'd like to test before Prime Day is just to make sure that my images are actually well optimized. So whenever someone types a query on Amazon, let's say it's a garlic press, there's 3 things on your listing that people can immediately see. And these are the 3 things that immediately affect your click-through, which are your main image, your title, along with your price. Out of those 3, the main image actually takes up the most real estate. So right now, you want to test your main image first just to make sure that you've got the right converting main image that brings the most sessions to your listings. One thing that you want to check is, you want to take a look at your current main image and show that to a friend and ask them whether or not this main image of yours will have them click through to the listing, and even show them the current page where you're ranking on, and look at the other competitor's main image and see if you're actually getting the most clicks, or having your friend click through your image and see if that's something that they would click through. Next thing up, I'm not a big proponent of price, but price is definitely a factor on whether or not someone actually clicks through to the listing. So if you've got the price right, then that's definitely a good formula. Typically during Prime Day though, you would often see people lower their price, or in some cases either increase your price. So it kind of depends on the whole category, and that's something that you'd have to play ad hoc. And lastly, your title. So your title, you want your title to make sure that you include any bonuses on the front, but more importantly, you put in any heavy hitting keywords with good search volume on the title itself. Why do we want to do that? Just because out of any other field on your listing, Amazon actually weighs and indexes your title the most. So you want to make sure that you have all those heavy hitting keywords on your title, and make sure that you leave the rest on your back end search terms, on your description, or on your bullet points. Now, Maria, I know that Prime Day is a little far away from here, but there are specifics about Prime Day, such as scheduling the lightning deal, and more importantly, how much lightning deal costs during Prime Day, because normally during Prime Day, or rather during a lightning deal, it would cost you about $150 to schedule a lightning deal. But I do know during Prime Day, it could creep up anywhere from $300 to $750 during Prime Day itself, which is pretty steep. Maria, I know you've been looking at the Fetcher numbers for quite some time. What have you seen from some customers about Prime Day and their numbers?
Perfect. Now, just to clarify, the tips that Ervin just mentioned are for anyone to apply, whether or not you're running lighting deals during Prime Day or not, because most sellers, even if you're not running lighting deals through Amazon on Prime Day, if you're just selling as usual, sellers usually still see an increase in sales. Okay, so now you're talking about if you're running lighting deals on Prime Day or the days prior to Prime Day. For those sellers, yes, I have seen, and unfortunately, because there's a fine line between, yes, I want to make more sales and I want to make, I want to increase my revenue during Prime Day, which yes, it will happen because all the influx of shoppers on that day. But then are you going to be profitable, yes or no? Like you just mentioned, Ervin, the flat fee from Amazon that you have to pay them in order to run that deal could go up to $700. So what I recommend is when you're looking at your Fetcher dashboard, you know what your profit is. Take a look at, if you're doing a lighting deal only on one day, take a look at what usually your profit is on a 1 day or 2 weeks, and then look at the average for 1 day. So, 24-hour time period. And depending on what percentage your profit is right now, or if your profit for a 1 day usually is $300, is it worth the increase in sales, the $700 payout? So look at where you're selling right now, multiply that by 3, which is what you mentioned before, and then do your numbers, whether or not it's worth it or not. And I recommend doing it way before Prime Day, so that way you will know whether or not it's profitable. And it's worth it.
Yeah, that's a very good tip, because oftentimes, and Amazon actually tricks us on this one, we often see like the numbers are higher in terms of how much we've sold. But if we look at the Fetcher dashboard, once we take into account any rebates or any promotions or returns, the number is always going to be lower. So looking at the revenues is great, but what really matters at the end of the day is a profit. And are we putting money back in our pockets? All right, guys, that's it for this week's episode of Style Strategies. I hope that you guys have learned from it, and I hope that you guys have a very successful and wildly successful Prime Day. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. See you next week, and keep crushing it on Amazon.
See you, everyone. Have a good one.